We're going to take a look at 5 Dallas Stars player cards and see if they accurately capture their value. We'll preview the Ottawa Senators, and since it's game day again, let's play Shooting Star. That and more next on Locked On Stars.
Your Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer, 105 Through the Fan, and play-by-play voice of the Chippewa Steel. Be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. It's Dallas Stars game day once again. A few days off, which was nice. I'm sure the players liked it as well, and they returned to action against the Ottawa Senators, one of the 5 worst teams in the National Hockey League, on the second leg of a back-to-back as the Stars are heading in to a back-to-back. So we'll preview the Ottawa Senators, play Shooting Star, get those picks in the comment section, who's going to be the player of the game tonight. But we are going to start off with Dallas Stars player cards. The Athletic released an article, and I found this really, really awesome. It gives a rating to every Dallas Stars player. I picked 5 for you, and we're going to take a look at some of those numbers, some intriguing stuff, including market value, which I really, really love. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. So some housekeeping before we jump into these things. I'm going to plot these on the screen too for all you YouTube watchers so you can actually see some of their numbers. I really encourage you to take a look at the article or jump on YouTube for just your listen only, just to see some of these. Of course, I'm going to describe them to the best of my ability. I'm not going to say every single number because that's just going to be way too much front loading into you. But either way, this aims to capture each player's value. They give an offensive and defensive rating. And of course, it weights in goals, assists, their kind of production, and it's for how they're performing this season. And it also forecasts how they're expected to finish the season. And it shows something like market value, which I found very intriguing. Maybe some guys are being underpaid. Maybe some guys are being overpaid. So I picked 5, and we're going to start with Miro Heiskanen. I got Miro, Roope, Duchene, Harley, and Johnston. So those are the 5 we're going to take a look at. Otherwise, it was just way too many guys to throw into one episode. So we start with Miro Heiskanen. The Stars' best defenseman has a current rating of plus 13. They're forecasting him to finish at plus 15, to go up a bit. And of course, Miro's having an underwhelming season in terms of what we were expecting to see out of him, a true Norris Trophy candidate. And through 27 games, it just hasn't quite been there. Of course, he leads the Stars defenseman with 19 points. He had a 3-point night the other day, which certainly helped, but we haven't quite seen that pop and consistency every night. And maybe that's due, the Stars' defensive consistency has certainly dipped a bit. Playing with Ryan Suter, who his play has not been very good in the past 2 weeks, even after a pretty decent start. But they have him at a plus 8 offensive rating and a plus 5 defensive rating. It shows he's doing great work on the power play. 11 points there, or just gets a rating of 11, which is in the 100th percentile, which is great. And of course, they're still trying to limit his ice time. They played him with Harley a bit too, which has certainly helped. When Miro and Harley play together, they actually rank as one of the best defensive pairings in terms of expected goal average, which is, I think, pretty neat as well. Hopefully we see a bit more of that here in the near future. But I love this. So it shows his salary at 8.5, his market value at 11.9. Of course, the Miro deal has been great ever since he put pen to paper. As you know, I'm not huge on money and what guys are making. Sometimes I think it's a bit overblown, but in today's cap situation, what guys are being paid really matters because it can hamper what you can do, especially come the trade deadline when the Stars are really going to have to make some moves if they want to be a true contender. So moving on from Miro, let's take a look at Roope, who I think is really hitting his stride. I think the top line in general is hitting its stride, dating back to last week when they played Washington, really took over that third period, and now we're seeing them really pick up the pace a bit. Plus 10 current net rating. They have him staying there to end the season. The number that really popped out to me was -2 on the defensive rating. Of course, a guy that we associate with having a great two-way game, but he's dipped a bit in that area. Maybe that's due to just the Stars' defense in general dipping a bit. I'm sure goaltending plays into that to some degree. The Stars aren't getting elite net minding. They're getting very, very good net minding, but it has dipped in general, the Stars' defensive play, than it has been in recent seasons. But offensively, he's been great. 98th percentile in goals and certain numbers like that. He's been great on the power play. They've been getting him a bit more involved, which I like. When we saw that power play goal that Pav scored on Monday, he's on that left flank. I think they really need to start working that with Robo on the right side, and he's on his weak side for the one-timer, trying to get pucks through. A lot of teams are keying in on that. They're taking him away. Use Roope more, start getting him attention, and then hopefully that opens up Robertson a bit more, who I think is going to go on a tear here. I just have that feeling that Robertson's really going to find his goal scoring touch here in the next few weeks. Let's talk about the newcomer, Matt Duchene, a +11 current rating. They're expecting that to dip as the season goes along. They have him finishing at a +8, but no question how much of an impact he has had. 21 points in his first 26 games. He got a much needed goal the other night after having the longest goal scoring drought of his career. Got his 7th of the season, and he's unlocked Tyler Seguin a bit more. He plays perfectly into the Pete DeBoer system. He's a puck possession guy. His defensive rating is 0. And that was something I did not notice watching him in past seasons, with just how committed he is defensively. He's hungry to get the puck back. He's physical. He can win those board battles, and it allows Tyler Seguin to not to have to do as much. And I think that's helped Sagan's play. Of course, 9 goals this season. He's having a great resurgence lately. And with Seguin losing a step, Matt Duchene still has that burst and the ability to win races. And he has the physicality to win some battles, get the puck back. And man, he's been really, really fun to watch and just been a great addition. And his market value, $7.7 million, and he's only making 3. And I've touched on it, one of the best values in all the National Hockey League. So big thanks to Matt Duchene for all he's done so far this year. How about Thomas Harley, the only other defenseman with a positive net rating? I'm pausing for dramatic effect. Is anybody shocked? I don't think so. The second best Stars defenseman at just 22 years old. And look, he's been so good ever since being called up at the end of last season. The Stars could really put Niels Lundqvist on kind of the Harley plan. Unfortunately, Lundqvist with his contract cannot go down to the AHL, and he needs to play, and that's why he's seen a bunch of healthy scratches lately. But Harley, +5 current rating, +1 defensive rating, and +4 offensively, leads the Stars in goals scored this season with 6. And they have him actually in the 96th percentile, projecting 13 goals on the year and 16 assists, so just under 30 points. Having a nice breakout season, and at just 22 years old, he'll be due for a contract here in a few seasons. And he's having a really, really good start to his young career. And they have him dipping a bit as the season goes along. I don't see that. I think he's going to get more playing time. I think he's going to get more opportunities to thrive in the PK and the power play. And I think he's going to turn a lot of heads when it comes crunch time, and guys get to watch him on an everyday basis. And as I mentioned, him playing with Miro a bit more, they're going to be so fun to watch. And hopefully you add Liam Bichsel to the mix here next season to provide some solutions, because the Stars don't have many. And they're probably going to have to go away from the organization to find those. But last but not least, how about Wyatt Johnston in his sophomore season, just 20 years old, a 0 net rating. And he got off to a terrific start, 9 goals so far this year in his first 27 games. He's in a goal scoring drought right now. 8 games without a goal for Mr. Wyatt Johnston. I don't think his line's been as good here as of late. Ben and Dadonov, along with Dadonov being healthy, scratched not too long ago. They seem to have a dip in their play. Hopefully you see that to increase. But Johnson's certainly still getting his looks. I think he does in general just because really how great he is at creating chances for himself. But I think that line certainly needs to be better here. And then you'll see Wyatt start to really find his game, but projected just under 30 goals. They have him at 27. I touched on it yesterday. Buy or sell. Does he hit the 30 goal mark? I bought that. I think Wyatt will get back to his goal scoring ways. And he's also due for a contract here. They have his market value at 4.1. So we'll see what happens when contract time comes around. But those are 5 Dallas Stars player cards. I really encourage you to go take a look at the article, or if you're listening only, jump on the YouTube for a bit and look at some of it. I thought it was really cool just to see some market value, see how some of these guys get valued around the league. It has every Central Division team as well, so you don't have to just look at the Dallas Stars. There's some, I guess, eye-popping ones on there. The worst-rated Dallas Stars player, which you might want to know, is Ty Dellandrea at -12, just for any of you wondering that. So I picked 5 that I thought were worthy of making today's segment. So those are the 5 I chose for you today. And hopefully those 5 maybe have a good game. Maybe it's a good jinx here tonight as they take on the Ottawa Senators. Speaking of those Senators, let's preview a team that's really, really struggling here. And we'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Game Time. And Game Time is obsessed with getting you tickets and giving you a complete peace of mind with your purchase. Get that sports fan lover in your life a great deal with Game Time by getting them some tickets to one of their favorite teams. You got plenty of Stars games around the holidays. I'll be going to a couple next week. I'm super stoked on that. And use Game Time, $20 off your first purchase by using code LOCKEDONNHL. And they have deals right up to the start of event. And it doesn't just have to be hockey, of course, folks. Football, basketball, baseball when it comes back around, concerts, comedy. And you can take a look at your seats before you buy, and you can buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL. That's LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So the Ottawa Senators are in town tonight to take on the Stars on the second leg of a back-to-back. Took on the St. Louis Blues last night. And this is a team, man, it feels like every season, this is the year to take the next step forward. They have some nice young pieces, and it's all going to come together. They had a really nice first half of last year, and it just hasn't quite come to fruition yet. And that's been the case so far on the season. And some of those young pieces like Tim Stützle, he's so good, 26 points in his first 23 games. You also have Brady Tkachuk, who just embodies everything that a Tkachuk does, but just not quite there yet in terms of goaltending and other things. One of the worst teams in the Atlantic Division and bottom 5 in the NHL. As I mentioned, 79 goals for, that's 26th in the NHL. They're actually doing pretty decently in terms of goals against, 74 total. That's 6th out of the 32 teams in the NHL. So pretty decent there. 3.22 goals against average. And they can score with the best of them. This is a team that, of course, can get to you at any point. Look, on paper, this looks like a team that's not playing well, can't find the back of the net recently, but teams have been able to do that against the Stars, so they certainly can't take them lightly. This is one of those trap games, so to speak, but they got a good power play, 17%, and they have great pieces, as I mentioned. Korpisalo and Forsberg are their 2 netminders, and they haven't been phenomenal this year, both with goals against average above 3, and then Forsberg with an 885 save percentage, which is nothing to jump up and down about. So we'll see how they fare tonight. A team coming in on a back-to-back, a young team, you're not going to expect them to not have their legs rather quickly. As the game wears on, it'll probably be more noticeable. It's going to be so important for the Stars to get out to a lead. Something they haven't been able to do at home very much this season. And I spoke to this yesterday in yesterday's episode on their home and road splits. It's very drastic, the difference in the Stars splits. Almost a 10% difference in terms of their power play. Their PK is just about a 7%. Their PK has been phenomenal in general. But in terms of their goals against average, that's a bit increased. I'll be intrigued to see what the Stars do with Otter and Wedgwood. Of course, you got a not so good team in the building on Friday. I'm kind of leaning towards having Wedgwood play tonight. Of course, we'll see how that all goes, but have Wedgwood play tonight, get Otter an extra day's rest. They're trying to cautiously, keep him rested and fresh. Hasn't really been the case. They've played him a lot, and he's played amongst the most in terms of starts this season already. I kind of like Wedgwood going at home, get him a home game, let Otter go on the road where he's been really, really good this season. So we'll see how Pete DeBoer wants to play that. Usually you always go with your number one on, the front half, but, Senators are coming on a back-to-back, so maybe that employs a different strategy. But I think it's so important for the Stars to get out to a lead. They haven't scored first in their last 5 games, and that's tough. Playing catch up constantly, and they've been able to come back a few times, of course, against Washington, in Detroit. But it's not a recipe for success. And they've had good starts, which is even a bit more mind-boggling in terms of play. Their starts in terms of play, I thought, have been really, really good. Their first 5 minutes, they're able to roll through their 4 lines, getting a lot of offensive zone time, but not getting those great scoring chances. And we saw that against Detroit, where the Stars had a ton of zone time. I mean, just working around the perimeter, but could not get interior. Next thing you know, Detroit goes down, gets a couple of juicy looks, and then they cash in first. And it's like, oh, here we go again. So very, very important to get that first goal, get off to a good start, pick up a win. These are points you need. This is a stretch. You got Seattle and Nashville, St. Louis, teams that you are better than, by no doubt. Need to pick up points, even if you aren't playing well, and they certainly have not played it very well over the past 2 weeks. Maybe they can find a rhythm and find some consistency. Defensively, just not going to be great. I've come to accept that, but they're getting enough offense right now to win ball games, and hopefully they get an uptick in some net mining from Otter and Wedgwood. Wedgwood's been really, really good this season. Just to flash his numbers: 5-1 record, 5-1-1, 905 save percentage, 3.25 goals against average. And he's stolen some games for Dallas this year. He has certainly stolen some games on the road. A good 1-2 punch that you can have when one guy isn't playing great. You have another that can win you a game. And when Wedgwood's in net, I always think the Stars have a chance. And they certainly do. When the wedge wall is in between the pipe. So that's a look at your Ottawa Senators, who are very young, but hey, don't fall into that. They get paid to play too, and they'll have their hands full tonight against a Sens team that is ready to rock at the American Airlines Center. So let's play Shooting Star. Who is your player of the game that's going to have a big night? I haven't done this in a while. Figured it'd be the perfect time as the Stars return to action. Get those picks in the comment section. I'll give you mine in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. You hear me talk about FanDuel, baby. It is no better time to get in on the action. As the weather gets colder, that NFL offer stays hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options. You got spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. It is so great that you don't have to play daily fantasy, so to speak. You don't have to pick a lineup and really stress over some things. Plop down whatever games on TV. You just pick some of the highlights. So if you're watching the Cowboys, you got CeeDee Lamb, you got Dak Prescott, throw some money on those guys, some over-unders, catches, passing yards, touchdowns, all that good stuff. Make some money while you're watching some games, and you don't have to worry about watching the other 12 games. Just watch the one that's on your screen and have a great time by playing FanDuel. $150 in bonus bets, folks, with any $5 money line bet. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. So before I release my shooting star pick into the air, I have to tell you about Locked On, because they've launched the first ever national 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, covering the top sports stories with those local experts, Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports today on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Be sure to subscribe to Locked On Stars too. Never miss an episode. Hit that notification bell. Alrighty, all you everydayers out there, you're the best. I appreciate you listening to me ramble about this Stars team, and we're going to ride to die on this roller coaster together throughout this season. And you can follow me on the Twitter thing at JoeyTheJet19 as well. Anyways, enough. This is my shooting star pick. Give me Wyatt Johnston. You heard me at the top of the show when I showed you his player cards and I verbalized it. An 8-game goal scoring drought. It lasts no longer tonight against the Ottawa Senators. Wyatt Johnston has a big, big game. You know what? I'm calling it. He has a hat trick. His first career hat trick. It has to happen now. Wyatt Johnston, I'm throwing it out there. First career hat trick against the Ottawa Senators. Stars have a big night. Back in the win column. Get back to second place in the Central Division. They're so close to first, right behind those pesky Jets and Colorado. So that is my pick. I like Wyatt Johnston to have a big night. Would love to hear your answers as well. I'm going out there, but I'm ready to die on the hill. I've liked Wyatt's game, and he's been on a drought. At some point, the Cannons have to release. Last time I chose a guy on a big goal scoring drought. He did well. Jason Robertson scored his first goal of the season. And he has 9 so far in the year. And Wyatt got off to a terrific pace, as I've touched on, 9 goals in his first 27 games. About time the 20-year-old gets back into the column. Maybe a couple power play goals helps him out. That power play has been humming too, by the way, which is certainly helped the Stars during a time of some pretty weak play. 25%, which ranks 6th in the National Hockey League. And to be completely honest, that second unit has been even better than the first, because they've got some talent on there. Either Miro hangs out, you got Harley, Duchene, and Sagan, and they can get that puck working around. This is a team the Stars should be able to handle. Hopefully have some tired legs. Put them out of their misery early, so to speak. Get up on this team, hold the lead, lock it down. I'm hoping for a very uneventful game. And maybe that's a terrible thing to say, but I'm hoping for an uneventful game in terms of the Ottawa Senators. I want this to be comfortable. Stars are playing too many tight games. Let's create some gap. Even that game against Detroit, even though it was 6-3, it was a bit deceiving. I thought it was a bit closer than that. Okay. Wonderful, wonderful week of Locked On Stars. Thank you guys for so much support. You guys have been phenomenal this week on all the trade targets. The conversation was on was great on that, because the Stars need some help. Time to hire some help. We'll not be able to do a live reaction after. Unfortunately, I have a game tonight that I will be covering, so I will be busy. I fly back home tomorrow. I'll be back in the Dallas area, going to a couple games next week. Very, very stoked to get into the building and have a great time. So I'll probably do an episode on Sunday, though. I think I'm going to do a bonus episode and kind of talk about this back-to-back the Stars have coming up. Since I'll be traveling tomorrow, I'll get all my things ready to go, my thoughts, my equipment, and we'll hit the ground running next week. Happy holidays, of course, to everybody. Christmas on a Sunday, which is really weird. Kind of sucks, to be honest. I don't know. With work and stuff, not that I have a tight schedule in my work schedule, but weird that Christmas on a Sunday. Anyways, enough with the rambling. Thank you guys as always. Let's get a Stars win tonight. Enjoy it, and I will see you next week. So long, Stars fans.